Thank you for joining us for this episode of Conversations at Night. Tonight we have a special guest with us. She's a woman who has defied all the odds. She's gone above and beyond to do what it is that she loves, despite what many would have presumed to be impossible. And her name is Marielle. Welcome to the show, Marielle.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
How are you today?
I'm good. I'm good.
How are you feeling?
Well, a little bit nervous, you know. It's the first time I've had an opportunity to be interviewed in this setting. So I'm grateful and I'm thankful for being able to have this moment to share my story.
Mm-hmm. Well, don't be nervous. We're in this together.
Right.
The first question I wanted to ask you was, what is your background? Like, where did you grow up? How did you grow up? Were you born and raised here?
Well,
Just a brief summary of your background.
Well, my background, I was born and raised in Brooklyn, New York. New York. And born and raised in Brooklyn, New York, from an immigrant parents. Both my parents are from Haiti. Mm-hmm. And so I'm actually the third child of 7 siblings. And so we grew up in Queens, New York. I'm from a Christian background. Both my parents are ministers. And so raised with 7 siblings. Mm-hmm. So I've always grew up in church. And so I've always known church has always been the thing of my family. And so we didn't know anything else but going to church every Wednesday, every Friday, and every Sunday. Wow. And so, so with that being said, well, when I was first born, I grew up with a disability. And so my parents didn't find out that I have a disability until I was about 3 years old. Okay. And so I am the only one in my family with this type of disability. Okay. And so, but the way my parents found out was when they sent me, when I was going to daycare, and it was in daycare, is when the teachers thought I was being disrespectful and I was being rude. Mm-hmm. Because each time that they would call my name or speak to me, I would not speak or I would not respond. Okay. And so when they saw that I wasn't responding, they took it as a form of disrespect.
Right, so they were like, you're just a rude child.
I was just a rude child in daycare, yeah. So my parents, been so busy with church, been so busy with work, they've never realized or captured that I had a problem. So thank God that one of the teachers was able to pick up on the problem. And so that's when they called my parents in and they said, well, you know, I think there may be an issue with your daughter, and I think it might be a hearing disability. I would recommend that we take her to get tested.
Did your parents actually take you to get tested?
So my parents did not want to accept what they heard from the teacher, but at some point they ended up having to take me to go and get a hearing test. I would say probably by the time I was 4 years old, when they finally took me to a hearing and speech center, and they did the hearing test. They diagnosed me, and they found out that I am hearing impaired. Okay. And so, so for them, it was just like a new language for them, especially coming from another country, coming to the United States. You're already trying to adapt to the culture, and then now I'm finding out my child is hearing impaired. What is that? What does that mean? And what does that entail for them?
So how were they able to adapt from, hearing that? How was the process in them adapting from hearing that you were hearing impaired to actually teaching you or learning about the disability and moving forward?
I think it was hard for them because I don't think my parents understood the process or understood the severity behind me being disabled. Because for them, especially when you come from a West Indian country and then on top of that with a background of being a Christian, You know, the statement is always, oh, God got this. God is going to heal you. God is going to, rather than really accepting the reality, okay, my child has a problem. Now, how do we try to resolve it? How do we fix it? So I think it took them a very long time, and probably just today, they're still learning to understand what hearing impairment is, or what it is to have a hearing disability.
And what it means.
And what it means. And so, but they did what was required to make sure that I got or that I received the necessary help for me to be able to proceed in life, for me to be able to succeed in my life. And so day in, day out, my mom would take me to the hearing and speech center for me to go get tested. My dad would take me. I remember my dad holding my little hand, and we're in Manhattan, big street of Manhattan, and he's just dragging me, to the hearing and speech center. And I would go to doctors after doctors after doctors after doctors, just getting tested and just getting fitted for a device to put in my ear. And I think there were questions about whether or not I can get surgery. Is that something that can be fixed? And so, but for years, as many times as my parents tried to find out if that's something that can be fixed, the response is always no, because the hearing loss that I've experienced is a hearing loss that become permanent. So it's a permanent, it's a damage, it's permanent. So there's nothing that can fix it except there are devices that can help enhance.
How did you feel hearing, because you got the news and you knew that something was,
Right.
different about you. How did you feel when you first were told you actually have?
I didn't understand it at first because growing up, 3 years old, 2, 3 years old, 4 years old, to be honest, I felt like I was in a world, I was in my own world, a world of peace, quietness, and I thought for me that was normal. Nobody bothered me, and I was to myself. I've always been someone who was always to herself. I've always remained in my little corner, and so for me, I thought that was the norm.
Right.
So it's when they started taking me to all of these doctor's visits and all of these, and I'm getting tested, and I'm getting like these little devices put into my ears and phonic ears, and I'm like, oh my God, what is that? So for me, it was just like, it was something completely new. It was completely something I did not understand, and it took me a while to understand. And what opened my eyes is when now I started to attend regular school. So when I was going to second grade, first grade, second grade, third grade especially, and I had students, my peers were teasing me, like day in and day out, bullying me because I was someone who was deaf, not hard of hearing, and there's a difference, but I was someone who was deaf, who can't speak, who talk funny, who look funny. And so that's when it dawned on me that, oh snap, I have a problem. I have a disability. So for me, it was just like, I didn't understand it. And I didn't understand that process, and I didn't understand why it was happening to me. And so, and then the school setting that I was in, the school did not understand my disability. And so when the school did not understand my disability, and that was in the 80s, and they didn't understand what it meant for me to be hearing impaired.
Right.
They didn't know how to assist me. They didn't know how to make sure that I was getting the tools that I needed to succeed in my classroom. And they didn't even know how to stop these kids from bullying me.
And I feel like when a school doesn't even know, how to go about a disability, that's a big disadvantage, especially on you who was a student.
Exactly.
I'm sure you felt like it was you were just isolated in the whole
I was
situation.
completely isolated. I felt like I was in a closet. I felt like I was completely alone. Whereas before, when I was alone, but that alone was a good alone because I didn't know there was a problem that exists. But now that I know that a problem exists, an issue exists, now I really felt isolated. I really felt alone. And when I go home and I would cry, and my mom would tell me, "Oh, they don't know better." She would just kind of like pacify, but not really understand the gravity behind what I was going through with the school. Because even the teacher, I had a teacher, I never forgot her name, Miss Goldstein, and Miss Goldstein, and now I have a forgiveness for her, but at that time she did not understand my disability, and so she would treat me like someone who was completely an outsider, someone who was just a problem for her, and so it took for something so big where a teacher did not understand what I needed, for my parents to now research and find out, okay, what school or where can they put me, where can they place me where I can get the proper assistance that I needed to be able to adopt my hearing disability into the mainstream. And so by the time fourth grade, we found a school that actually specializes in working with hearing disabled students as well as profound deaf students. And so it's when I started to meet others who were like me
that you realize that you're not alone. From coming to a school where nobody understands to being surrounded with people who do understand, I can imagine that helped you emotionally, like being able to finally...
It did, to a certain extent.
Okay.
And when I say to a certain extent, when I was in that world or in that bubble of people that understood me or who were like me, that was my comfort zone. But once I stepped out of that, I was no longer in that comfort zone.
Right.
Because now, outside of the mainstream, outside of the school, now I still had to deal with my parents, my siblings who didn't understand my disability also, and people in my church who did not understand or know of my disability. So I had to deal now with that group of people. And they didn't bully me per se, but already because I already had the insecurity. So when again, I would say something that sounded funny, or if I didn't hear them, they would say, "Oh, I'm just ignoring them," or "I have selective hearing," or "Oh my God, that sounded funny. That's not how you say. Oh, you speak with a lisp. Oh, you this and this and that." And that never helped. That didn't help me, and so that my insecurity continued to grow. Whereas instead of them trying to say, "Oh no, I understand. I'm here to support you," it was opposite.
But I do feel like people in society in general, they do have an issue with, they always want to label things. And, just like you said, like they were trying to say that you're selectively hearing things and stuff. It's like, why do they have to put a label onto something? Do you feel like it's because they just don't understand?
I think a part of it is ignorance, and the other part is the misunderstanding. People take others for granted, and when I say that is that for me, I believe in trying to learn about an individual, trying to find out about the individual, trying to ask questions about the individual rather than making an assumption. In my experience, a lot of people misunderstand me, and rather than asking me, "Well, why do you speak this way?" or "Hey, did you not hear me? Did you hear when I called you?" Giving me that opportunity, that chance to explain myself, it's important to do that. And so I've been in positions where people have called me from afar, and then when you didn't hear me call you, like, what is wrong with you? Are you deaf? And then I have to turn around and say, well, I'm hard of hearing. So that's why I didn't respond to you.
Right.
And for them, it's like, oh, I didn't know. But I also take some fault in my end because of my insecurity, I used to hide. I used to hide my disability. So I would never, ever talk about my disability until something like this happened. So I've never been open about who I am. I've never been open about the part of me that makes me me.
Right.
And so I've always been hiding behind this wall. And so when people come to me, especially when it comes to my speech, oh wow, are you from England? Oh yeah, I'm from England. Yeah, so I used to try to create someone or a person that I am not.
I always say the best version of you is you.
The best, it is, and you know what? I believe I am living the best version of myself today. I have so much to be thankful for, and so much to be happy about myself, to be in the position to say this is who I am as far as my disability, because just having to go through the years of my life telling, people making fun of me, to where now I reached high school and to have a teacher to tell me, and who worked with disabled students, to tell me that I couldn't go to college. So instead of going to college, go to a technical school. And there's nothing wrong with technical school.
Right.
But
yet again, that's another assumption that they make.
It's another assumption that's been made that, you know what, because of your disability, maybe you should try going to a technical college and to see how that work out for you first. And then if you can get to college, if you succeed in the technical program, then you'll move on. Right. Yeah, to do the baby step. So I'm sitting here like, baby step for what? My goal, my dream was to go to college and to learn and to become a psychologist. That was my plan. Because I knew that I had in my heart to help people however way I can. And so my mom was like, you know what? This is what we're going to do. Right. So she took me by the hand and she said, we're going to go to every school in Manhattan and apply. And we're going to apply to every Ivy League school. I'm like, Ivy League? I said, wait, I don't know about Ivy League. I said, I want to go to college. Right. So I'm like, okay. I said, well, I'm going to follow my mom. So my mom was like, we're going to show them what you can do. Yeah. I went to college.
Okay.
And
what did you study?
And I got my bachelor's in psychology. And I ended up getting my master's in social work. And then, now I'm currently working on my second master's in ministry. So for someone to tell me that I can't do it.
And you went to college, got 2 masters. You're working on the second one.
I'm working on the second one.
You did it, and
yeah, so
that just goes to show, like, nobody can tell you can't do it.
You can't do it. And so that's why today I reflect back on that accomplishment. I reflect back on the accomplishments of making it through the bullying, the letdown, the put down, and to be where I am today. For me, it speaks volume. And for me, it's more of a reason for me to not sit back and not share my story and let people know that that I am able. My disability is my ability.
Right. And that's a really powerful message, because a lot of people need to hear that. They need to stop making the assumptions that just because you have a disability that you can't do anything. Like, even, I'm sure the teacher is going to see this, hopefully.
Hopefully.
Speaking of achievements, how did you go from, or what helped you go from being underestimated to actually becoming someone who's basically a force, especially in the Osceola County? From what I hear, you are involved in a lot of things. Would you be able to talk about that a little?
Well, I started a ministry called I Am Woman, Proverb 31 Ministry. This ministry started about 3 years ago. When I started the ministry, To be honest, I didn't. I wasn't sure what direction I wanted to go in, except to know that I wanted to inspire and empower and encourage women that are out there in the community who are making a difference, encouraging women who are entrepreneurs or who are in leadership positions to bridge that gap, to create a partnership between all these women in the community in the Osceola County, all across Central Florida, to come together and to share their resources to those who are in need. I wanted to create a partnership with women who can mentor others who were like us, coming up, going through certain obstacles, and then we had to go through certain routes or route to be successful. And so with developing the I Am Woman Private 31 ministry, it grown into me creating I guess I would say a foundation called Women to Women 26th Day of Giving. And Women to Women 26th Day of Giving is a fundraiser that I created, where I would partner up with the women in the community and to basically do a fundraiser and to give back to other women who are in need. And so with the 26th Day of Giving, some of the things that we've been able to do is that all the fundraisers, all the monies or the proceeds that we raise, it would go to a specific organization. So we've had an opportunity to minister to the Homeless Coalition of Central Florida, where we had an opportunity to, raise fund, to do a fundraiser. We went out there and did a vision board party for them, and everything that we would have want for ourselves, we went out there and gave back to them. And so, so this time around, this year was our third year. We wanted to go bigger, and and the vision for this year was to recognize women of strength. And
what would you define as a woman of strength?
A woman of strength is a woman who's endured every pain for them to get to where they are today. The other program, which is one of my premier programs, which is the Gems Girls Mentoring Program.
Okay.
And the Gems Girls Mentoring Program mentors youth, young girls ages 10 to 18 years old. And the goal of this program is basically to teach them and to empower and to inspire them to be successful young women in their community. And so one of the amazing things as I developed the mentoring program, I've learned that January is National Mentoring Month. And the importance behind mentoring is that it's for individuals to be able to come and give back.
I heard you're the one who proclaimed January as the National Mentoring Month. Is that true?
Well, I proclaim January as National Mentoring Month. It's actually all across the United States.
Okay.
But I've had the opportunity to proclaim it for the Osceola County. And so Osceola County did not proclaim or did not recognize January as the National Mentoring Month. So I said, you know what? I need to make this happen.
So
and
did that.
And I did that.
I also heard that you do not celebrate birthdays, and I'm somebody who loves birthdays. So what exactly do you do during your birthday?
And what I do during my birthday is what I've mentioned earlier, which is the Woman to Woman 26th Day of Giving. So anyone who blessed me with a gift, with money or whatnot, I take that and I give back. And I give it back. And
I'm just thinking about myself, and like I said, I love birthdays.
Right.
Getting the gifts and the attention. So that's very selfless.
Yeah, it's very selfless. And sometimes God puts you in a position where you're going to have to take a silence so that you could recognize the blessings that He put in front of you. Absolutely.
So how do you do you have a family of your own, first of all?
Yes, I do. I have. I have a beautiful daughter who's actually about to turn 11 years old this week, and I have a handsome son. God, and he's about to turn. He's also going to turn 12 years old.
I'm sure in their eyes, when they look at you, they're like, you're just this superwoman. Like, you can do it all. You overcome everything that you were told you couldn't do.
They do, and they do. Especially my daughter, and I know that she's one that looked up to me, and who tells me day in, day out, Mommy, I'm proud of you. I'm proud of you.
Did you have any word of advice or anything you wanted to tell the audience, or maybe someone who might be going through something that you went through earlier on in your stage of discovering that you had a disability?
Well, there's a saying that I say is, especially when I first started this ministry, I like people to know that there's a statement that I say to myself is that, so please do not underestimate me. And so I say to you, please do not ever allow anyone to underestimate you. Whatever you put your mind to, whatever you're going through, don't allow that to be a failure, but instead to be a strength to encourage you to succeed. And so, while I say do not underestimate me, you might see me walking around with my hearing aid, and while I'm walking with that, it doesn't mean that I am unable. It means that I am able. And so I walk around with my hearing aid proud, and to let you know that this is who I am. It's a piece of device, but it belongs to me. It makes me who I am. And so whatever disability you may be that you may have, or whether it's a physical disability, whether it's mental health, or whether it's whatever it is, do not allow that to be a crutch where you just lay it on and never get back on. Allow it to be your stepping stone to help you to succeed, to move forward, because that's what this hearing aid did for me.
Could you tell people where to find you, your websites, if you have any, Instagram, Facebook?
Absolutely. You can find me on www.prov31.com, and you also can find me in Instagram under Marielle Pirro. And also I do, and you can also call me at 407-508-7000 if you want to learn more about my organization. You want to become a mentor to one of our Gem Girls mentoring program, definitely visit our website, and we'll be more than happy to work with you.
Tonight's episode was basically touching on the topic that disability is not inability, and that is a very powerful message, as it lets everybody know that no matter what people tell you, you can do the impossible. So thank you again for watching. Make sure you like, comment, and subscribe, and put a comment down below to keep the conversation going, and also let us know which topics you'd like to hear us discuss on the show. Have a good night.
It was good.
I was trying not to cry so bad.
You did.
Trying to save the makeup for tomorrow.